Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Peanut,
And I'm Butter, and
and
welcome
welcome to
to
the
the
Peanut
Peanut
Butter
Butter
Show.
Show. All right, you guys. Well, this week, per I don't know how many requests, y'all. Y'all love this one, but per request, we will be talking about our love story. So,
But before we get started, man, Mug Monday, man, I got my Scooby Doo Mystery Machine mug, man. This probably one of my favorite ones. Growing up, I used to love Scooby Doo, so shout out this mug.
it only felt right that I also had a character mug. We need to get some more character mugs.
Want to be like me? That's what it was.
Anywho, so I have SpongeBob, and our SpongeBob mug is really cool because he does have all his little dimples like in the mug, but also like square for Mr. SquarePants.
Show him the little handle. The handle is his
Oh,
actual
his
arm.
arm? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
pretty
just fire.
cool. It's
These
cool.
these are fire. But
Okay,
yeah,
so
man,
really cool mugs for Mug Monday, per usual.
no surprise there.
Per usual. Okay, so do you want to start, or is this like a question and answer thing? How are we doing this?
And we just kind of
Flow. We flow
Yeah,
about this
kind of,
story,
kind of go
yeah.
ahead and get this thing rolling.
Okay, so tell them when we met.
Hmm. Was it pre-cal? Horrible times, man. Wasn't even horrible times, but
It wasn't a bad time. Well, okay, I'm being honest.
it was.
It was bad times in my life.
So high school, let's say that. Imagine you, your cousin, and your best friend all in the same class together. What more can I say, man? We're gonna cut up. We're gonna act crazy. We're gonna act the fool. That's just what it was, man. If you knew me in high school, you know, like that nigga go he gonna act crazy. That's just he funny though. He gonna be funny. He's just gonna vibe and have a good time. That's just what it always was. So man,
It was 2015, and I had just moved to this new school, this whole new place, y'all. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I just wanted to go back and be with my friends that I had been with since middle school.
hated it until she met me. That is. Then it was like,
No, y'all want the truth? When I met him, I hated him too. I remember my first, I won't even say the day that I met him because I feel like there was a day that like we first encountered each other, which would have been the first day that I was in that class. But then, like the first day that we interacted with each other, those were two different days. But our first encounter, my first memory of him, y'all, I was sitting at the back of the class on purpose, trying to mind my business. I was trying to mind my business. And I don't know what him and his friends was talking about. Like people in the class were sort of talking or whatever. I'm just doing my work. And then you hear this loud, hysterical crackle
boy,
come from the left side of the class by the door, y'all.
whatever that shit was hilarious, man. 'Cause we used to be in that bitch cutting up. It was a great time to say the least.
I was so unamused. I was so unamused.
That's because she was some dual enrolled, doing high school and doing college. One of them tryhards, just like, oh, I'm just trying to do it. Man, I'm like, ugh, man, enjoy it, man. Have some fun with it. And they're try hard, man. I just want to do my work.
I
Man,
wasn't even dual enrolled
get some
yet.
fun in your life, man.
That's one. Two, I just told y'all I had moved from a whole different school from friends that I had had for like years at that point. All my best friends, I used to have classes with them. Like the way that he's describing our pre-cal class is the way I
Man,
used to describe my everyday before I moved to that school.
a
And then
real
I moved
bump
there.
on a log. That's what we'll call
I was ready every day. I used to be sitting, texting in the back of class, talking so bad about them
it.
because they
Kill
was loud.
Joey.
Anywho, and then they got rowdy enough for the teacher to give us assigned seats.
Science seats don't matter when you cool with everybody, man. When you are the vibe, ain't no stopping it, man.
But that's what got us interacting with each other because we used to sit at these little circle tables. That is the weirdest thing. You know, I had never been to a school where the chairs sat so high. They was like office chairs and the tables was all high and stuff. Anyways, it was just asking for a distraction. High tables and high chairs in high school. That's crazy.
Man.
But I ended up getting sat in a group with him and one of his friends, and I want to say the other two was like in the group next to us. Like she didn't even split them up good, y'all. She just threw me in the mix, like, oh, you're quiet, so maybe you'll control the. No, girl, I don't know these people.
Not a chance in hell, man. We used to turn that mug up.
Anyway, so we yeah, we ended up sitting in the same at the same table,
Mhm.
and they used to cheat off my work.
That's a lie. Absolutely a lie. Now, people did used to cheat off her, granted, but one time she came up to me like, "Oh, here are the answers." Like, I already got my own answers. Thanks. Like, who are you to come up to me giving me some answers? I don't need your answers. But what I'm saying, try hard, man. Thinking they was in there getting it. Because I'm a clown, don't mean it. Some brains up in there, you know. So
Hello, math was always my strong suit.
yeah, it's just
Anyways,
numbers. Life is numbers.
again, we ended up. I don't think it started quite like that, but whatever. We used to pass my paper around the table. We all had the same answers, and um, I really can't tell you at what point we sort of became friends, but we sort of became friends sitting at that table. Um,
It's me, man. The good looks, the charm, and funny.
and let me
What can you
just
say?
say that
Dom piece.
I was only in that class for one semester. So,
See how that magic work? I need a semester, baby. I need me a couple months, maybe.
are you done? So we could tell these people the story.
Go ahead, man. I'm just gonna have my charm in there so they know.
Who are you trying to get to?
Just look. I don't need to get to nothing. I already got. What is it? I already
Don't
got.
be. Anyways,
Let's get it. Let's get it.
anyways. So within that semester, somewhere along the line, we sort of became friends.
Hmm.
And then our first date, he invited me to this basketball game. It was some huge game, y'all. I can't tell you who was playing, but it was some huge, huge game. And it was so packed. And there was a senior section. And he was a senior, but I wasn't. And all of the seniors knew each other. It seemed like everybody at that school had been going to school together their whole lives.
I know
And
most of them
so,
since like elementary school, middle
exactly,
school at the latest,
because they all
or
had been
earliest.
there their whole lives. But so then he wanted to go sit in the senior section. They jumping on top of each other,
Man,
actually
turn it
into the
up,
game.
man.
They was lit, y'all. They was super lit.
Enjoy it
And
while it
so I
lasts.
sat like next to the senior section because it was a lot for me. Like, nah, buddy boy, that's not me.
Shit.
But he ended up sitting with me or whatever, and that was our first date. I can't say it was a bad date. I just remember that game being so loud and so turned, like, and I just couldn't, like, everything, every little thing that happened on the court, especially the senior section, like, blew up, like,
If if you was at
screaming and
them DC basketball games, you
jumping.
know them motherfuckers was jumping, like jumping. And things was crazy good. So what can I say, man?
It just felt like a bunch of people screaming for me, y'all. But that was our first date. And then we just started dating. His senior year was pretty interesting.
I see your year was crazy.
What else did we do your
When
senior
we
year?
first started dating, man, let me tell y'all something. So my mom used to work for the school board. So I had school of choice. So really I was supposed to go to a different high school. But I went there my freshman year, it wasn't for me. Let's say that. It was not. So I ended up transferring to a new school and I was there the rest of my time there. So like the principal already knew me. Anytime I would get in trouble, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm finna call your mom and this and that." And finally, my senior year, it turned into like, "Oh, I'm finna call Selena."
I'm gonna call something. And he
I'm
did. He
like,
used to call me, y'all.
"What?"
Sydney wouldn't go to class because he wouldn't go to. Okay, so second semester is when I got dual enrolled. I had been sick of the school. I was like, I don't want to do this. I had got tired of. I had started by riding a bus because I didn't have my license yet. So it was my junior year. So I was 15, turning 16, I think. Um, I didn't have my license yet. And so I started the year riding the bus. I hated riding the bus. I hated all the kids. I hated most of my classes. I just hated it. And because I couldn't move back home, I'm like, okay, well, I have the grades to dual enroll. And my original thought process was I'm going to drop all of my high school classes. I'm going to take my college classes and I never have to come up here. Didn't work out quite like that. So I still ended up having like 2 classes on campus at the high school. But that meant our schedules were different. And so in the morning I would go to like my college class if I had it. And then Sydney would text me when I was leaving class. And okay, let me say this too, in case my nana and my auntie and them watching
Oh
this.
man,
This was 7 or 8 years ago, y'all. And we are adults now and we love y'all so much. Okay.
man,
But this may not be the episode y'all really want to watch. However, back to the story. I was dual enrolled. And so when I would get out of school, out of my college classes, if Sydney didn't want to be at school, I wasn't at school.
Hey, come
So
pick
he
me
would
up.
call me and I would pick him I would pick him up. Like,
Oh, that was senior year too. You were of age. You just check yourself out. Be like, hey, not
no,
feeling
he
well,
didn't
going
even
home.
go check himself out some days. Some
Sometimes I'll
days
just
he just
leave
skipped like one class
and
and then
go
he
to
would go
one
back
class
to
that
the
I would
next
feel like
class.
it, and then like that class I know is coming up. Really, do you need me there? I used to have people I would just text and be like, hey, just tell them I ain't feeling well. And sometimes they would like, oh man, I had a science teacher. I forget her name, but she used to always,
Zoology.
yep, and she used to always hit me up Wednesday and be like, it's a test on Thursday. I don't care if you ain't been here, you better be there because if you don't, I'm gonna go tell the principal. If I go in there, pass the test,
And he would only be there long enough to take his test y'all. Then he would call me, like, I'm done. Meet
I would
me.
literally ask, I'd be like, are we doing anything else for today? We're gonna go over some review about the lesson tomorrow. All right, I'm about to leave. I passed my test, she graded, she was like, whatever. Everybody else to be mad. Like, how does he get to just leave? Like, I mean, what can you say? Passing the test, passing grades. You just want me to sit, make them sit here, distract everyone else? No, leave.
So I
Do-do-do-do-do.
used to pick him up. And I don't even think the principal knew that I was the one picking him up. But he knew that because the principal had my number because of the way my dual enrollment was set up, because I had come from another school. It was a whole lot, y'all. And so he ended up getting my number because quite often I had to check in at the high school. And so all of the administration had my number. My principal, the vice principal, and my counselor had my phone number because at that point they just treated me like an adult. Like, we don't have to call your parents when we got a question for you or when we need to check in. So when Sydney started missing classes or when his teachers was looking for him or anything
Man,
like that,
I think
he
it
would call
started
me.
because like I think that second semester, like I missed like oh I had like 60 tardies in like a month. And they were like, he called me in the office like, hey man, if you don't start coming to school, I'm gonna tell your mom and this and that. They're gonna kick you out. I'm like, he's like, where do you be at? I'm like, at the crib. He's like, so you just go home. I'm like, what is there here for me?
And we did all the time, either at the house or at Waffle House.
Waffle House,
Taylor used to cover for us.
Wendy's, Chick-fil-A. Like
We would go eat, y'all.
I'm never well, like what was the point? There was nothing there for me. Like he's
We
like,
would go
oh yeah,
eat.
you get your education, but like I mean, you pass the test, you retain the knowledge. What does it matter how you know the stuff? If you know it, you know it. Now, this is not to say don't go to school, man. Go to school, get your education, but I was a different
This
breed.
what we was doing.
Yeah, I didn't care.
So I don't know. His senior year was pretty cool. We dated all through his senior year. Um, I got invited to all the senior activities his senior year. Everybody also thought I was a senior that year, and I wasn't. Um, and so senior skate night, all the senior specific activities, I was there. Um, and then we went to prom together.
Yeah,
I
good
don't have
old
none of
prom.
our prom pictures.
I have some of them somewhere. Have some of them somewhere.
Anyways, we went to prom together that year. Um, and then we dated that whole summer after summer 2016. And then my senior year came, and
Man,
I don't know, like we started this on and off thing my senior year. Um, And that's what we were for a long time after that, was just on and off.
It was cause let me tell you something. She was messing around with this little dude, right?
I was not
I ain't
messing
gonna
with
name drop him
nobody.
because we ain't beefing no more. But it was we messing around with this little
Did he know
dude.
y'all was beefing?
He knew.
Oh,
He used to just be slick. But anyways, she was messing with this little
I
dude,
was
and
not messing around.
I had been graduated, but I've been in Douglasville my whole life, so like I was tapped in. Like something weird would happen, or it's like something about my girl or something. They let me know. They'd be like, "Hey, we seen this shit. Just thought you should know." And so they had hit me up one day. It was like, "Yeah, we was seeing her with old dude. They be whatever chopping it up all the time." I'm like, I'm like, I know that nigga. So I hit him up. I'm like, hey, you being weird, whatever, whatever.
You
Come to
hit him
find out
up?
he was trying to get with my girl on a slick. I'm like, ugh. But she was entertaining him. You know, me being young, dumb, kind of childish. I'm like, oh, whatever, nigga. So that stirred up a whole bunch of something. So the on and off thing, it was reasonable but unreasonable at the same
It was unreasonable.
time.
It
He
was
was trying it.
unreasonable.
He was trying it.
Who was trying it?
We ain't gonna name drop, man. Let's keep
Oh,
the
he
love.
was trying it. That's what.
Let's keep the story going.
Anyways, so yes, he was trying it. He was trying it. And didn't he have all these like secret spies at school and
There
stuff?
was no secret. I was tapped in. I've been there for so long.
And
They knew
they
Peanut.
did. They used to tell me like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell Sydney. I'm gonna tell," and I'm like, "Tell him what? Like, what are you talking about?" I did. I used to try so hard to be nice to people, and then I was reminded like, this why I'm not nice to y'all, cause y'all real foolish acting. But so my senior year we was on and off a lot, and I'm be honest, it was real toxic, y'all. I feel like
Bad.
the toxicity started my senior year, where like I played volleyball. He would show up to my games. He wouldn't see me before the game. Didn't talk to me all day, and then by the time the game was over, he was gone.
Had to pull up and make sure old dude wasn't there. Had to catch him outside, man.
At a volleyball game. Like
So what? Volleyball game, his
he was
house.
so aggressive, y'all.
So
He
hey
was
man,
so aggressive in high
like
school.
why you trying it, man? Try that shit someone else, somebody else, old lady.
And then like and then the guy was he's like, "Oh, me and Peanut friends." Like, there's
Nigga, we
no
are not
way.
friends,
There's
man.
no way.
I
But
was casual with him just in case I wanted to beat him up and beat him down. I'm like, yeah, buddy, come hang out here. And then whoop his ass. But we was not friends, man. We
Sydney
cool
was so
now.
protective.
We cool now, but
Sydney was so protective. Sydney's still so protective.
these niggas be weird.
I'm not saying otherwise.
Nah, but some of them be weird. Like you ain't gonna watch yourself. But so that on and off shit happened for a good little minute, and then
I
finally,
don't know, like a year and a half or so. It went from the beginning of my senior year until my second semester of college. No, right before the start of my second semester. Because we stopped talking in January 2018.
yeah, that shit had to get cut, man. It was starting to be too much. I was kind of out of school. I've been still doing dumb shit, but kind of trying to figure it out, and that shit wasn't helping. So I
Yeah,
kind
we
of
were long distance. I was in college. I had left. We were long distance,
two different lifestyles to say the least.
very different lifestyles.
So don't get to thinking when you see us like, oh, high school sweethearts and this and that. It might have been, but it was also a big break period where we didn't talk for at least like what 2 years almost.
January
It was like
2018. We didn't
probably
start
like
talking
two and a half.
again until March 2020, because that's when COVID hit.
Yeah, but it was we was hanging out a little bit before COVID.
No, it all happened in March though. It all happened in March.
Yeah, maybe.
It was right after I had got back from Mardi Gras. It all happened in March that year.
But we had been talking a little bit on and off before then. Cause
He
she
had
hit
followed
me,
me back on Twitter.
yeah, cause I had to block you because you was being weird.
No,
But
we blocked
anyways,
each other.
I followed her back, but I was dating this one crazy ass girl. And if you see this,
Don't.
but all right, we'll cut that out. No, it's crazy. Anyways, um, just she was not the biggest fan of Selena to say the least. She knew her in high school. We all went to high school
I
together.
did not know that girl. I don't care what
So
nobody
she
says.
knew of you. She was like one of those like girls who used to like you in the shadows but don't really say nothing, but like know what about you. So She knew about me, knew who I dated and whatnot. So, anyways, whatever, whatever. So she was hitting me up on Twitter like, "Oh yeah, we could be friends." And I'm like, "Yeah, my current girl really won't like that." I'm like, "No, we can't be friends." So, whatever, whatever that had
But
happened.
okay, hold on, wait, because there was a before that happened, Sydney did reach out to apologize to me. He's like, I've matured and looking back on things, I am working on I think he said like putting it behind him or something. And so he felt like I deserved an apology for the way that
Oh yeah, I remember that.
toxicity sort of came
I
into
said
our relationship and ate it up.
I had like reached out to a few people like, "Hey man, if I ever like fucked you up, I apologize. Like I'm trying to be better, do better. I don't want to nothing to carry back from behind to now. So like whatever happened, if we could squash it, handle it, whatever."
Yeah.
That's what I tried to do. I did that with a few people. So
So,
kind
and
of
I
try to better
appreciated it.
myself.
We were still living very different lives, right? But I appreciated it, and that's when I unblocked him on everything. So I'm like, okay, he's a bigger person, but he was still with that girl. So I was like, he a bigger person, but he ain't mine. And so we kept it pushing. But that's when I told him like we could be friends.
I'm like, yeah,
I ain't got
probably
no hard
not.
feelings because by then I had moved on. Like I, mm, I thought that I had moved on, but by then, I was telling him like, we could be friends, and that he did for real tell me. He's like, I don't think that'll be a good idea. I
Nah,
just
I'm
wanted to
like,
get this off my chest. Da 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 da
old
da.
girl
And
do
I'm like,
not like you,
all
so
right,
I
cool,
won't even no issue.
cool.
So that happened, and I dealt with that toxic situation for a while. Where I finally like had to cut myself from that like permanently. Like it was bad, just to say the least. And the lower times in my life, probably the lowest point. It's tied. It's tied up there for like top three. But after that, you know, I had cut that off or whatever, and I had let a little bit of time go, and I was just chilling, and so I hit her up, and I'm like, yeah, we could be friends again, whatever. And she hit me back for a little while. She claimed that she never hit me up to ask to be friends, but like,
I didn't just like reach out to you like, oh my god, I miss you. We should be friends again. That's not what happened.
no. But it was on some like, I'm missing you, man. Let me, what's up? So I was like,
You so cocky.
I'm like,
No, you so cocky.
what I say, man. I call it how I see it, man. I was going off the action. You can
It was
only
a
go
text. I don't even think it was a text, y'all. It was probably like a DM on Twitter or something.
Hey, what she slid in my DMs. What you mean? Hey, it was back in the day. What you expect? All I'm saying. Anyway, so I hit her back up.
Anyway,
I seen I had seen she was writing. So I'm like, okay, she writing, she doing her thing. I read a couple of her little blogs on her page. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever, whatever. So I hit her up. I'm like, hey, proposition, we semi decent friends. I'm working on a comic
no,
book,
we had actually started actually talking before that. Right before that.
but like barely. It wasn't like we
You
was
had posted about your sister.
oh my little sister.
About he posted about watching a movie with his little sister on Twitter. And I was like that I did. I slid in his DMs and I was like, oh, she must be so big now. Because when we first started dating in 2015, Anderson was what, like one?
I don't even remember when she was born, honestly. And that's so jacked up, but it's been
She
a
was like
minute.
one when we started dating. And so when he posted it, I'm like, oh, she must be so big. Y'all little babies. But I'm like, oh, like that's so sweet, brother sister time. And then he was like, no, I gotta tell you this story. Because it wasn't Anderson that he was watching the movie with. And so we ended up calling each other and we sat on the phone. We did. It was March of 2020. I remember it.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember. I don't remember
We
this
called
one,
each
y'all.
other because okay, he sent me his number or I sent him my number or something in the DMs because he was like, no, not that sister. I'm like, oh, you got another
Oh,
sister? Like your mom had another
shit.
baby? That's so sweet, whatever, whatever. And he's like,
Nah,
nah,
it's a twist for another time, but
whole nother day.
that
But
did happen.
and so I'm like, what you mean your other sister? Like I'm confused, right? And so I'm like, maybe it's the play sister or something. He's like, I gotta tell you the story. So
That
we
shit
get
was
on the phone
nuts.
and we on the phone the rest of the night. Like on the phone, right?
No, but that's a
Listening to this
story.
story, like
I
going
tell that
over
story, man.
everything, like crazy. I am mind freaking blown
Y'all, when
about
y'all
this
hear that
story,
story,
y'all.
y'all gonna be like,
Oh
how did you
my
even
god.
manage through that? Like,
Oh
you gotta
my god.
fortify your mind. Anyways, so all of that happened. We was
And
talking.
then, yeah, I think like a week later, he hit me up.
Yeah, I
Like, I
seen she
see you
was
be
writing. I'm like,
writing.
yeah. So I've been working on my art. So I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about this comic book idea. And for all of those who got the interviews and stuff, it's still cooking. I took me a
Hmm.
little break for a while. I had been going through some things, but I've
We
been
had to do life.
yeah, but I've been working trying to get that back. But anyway, so I hit her up. I'm like, hey, you the writer, I'm the artist. Let's put something together. So you know what I'm saying? We start
We
getting
started working
together, working, like cooking, like
like crazy, y'all. Like,
every
and
probably
COVID,
like
maybe like,
twice a week,
no, it was more than twice a week,
like
y'all.
3, 4 times.
And COVID had just shut everything down. So I got furloughed from work when COVID happened. So I had no job. I'm on unemployment. I got my apartment. I live, it's me and my dog.
Yeah, I
And
unfortunately was
he had
considered like
two jobs, and I think he was still in school at the beginning, an essential worker.
an essential worker.
And so,
Fuck
and
that.
we lived an hour apart,
Yes,
and still
ridiculous.
started when we started working. We like hit the ground running. We did like
Rolling. Came up with
all kind of
concepts,
stuff,
ideas. I'm talking
all
about
kind
like
of stuff. That whole summer,
backstories,
summer
names.
2020 was amazing,
I
y'all.
interviewed a lot of my close friends, family members, figuring out what their favorite colors were, what superpowers they would have if they wanted to be like rolling.
So that we had like we got a whole thing. Y'all gonna
Yeah,
love that comic book when
that
it come
shit is
out.
crazy. Yeah. But I
But
think for me, it was like that big connect back. Like, oh shit, we just hit it back like nothing ever
yes,
happened.
like nothing happened. We
So it
just
was
hit it
just
right back off.
rolling.
And we was at first it was like we was going home every night.
Yeah.
So but it was I want to say y'all, it was like 5 times a week. One of us was driving, making that hour drive to the other person's house,
Shit.
sitting over there to the crack of dawn, driving
Mm-hmm.
back home.
Get home like 6 in the morning. They'd be like, my grandparents be like, oh, you just getting in? Yeah.
It was long, y'all. Um, and we was hanging out. We had started because again COVID, and so um, of course, like interacting with all his friends and all that stuff. Like I just sort of started hanging out all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
we were going to parties together. We went hiking. Found this love for hiking during COVID.
Oh yeah.
We went hiking a few times, and I had a trip that I had planned right before COVID shut everything down, and
Oh, that's how I knew she was back into me. Oh, she
it was
just
right before his birthday,
so happened to
and
want to invite me to Florida on my birthday.
I'm
Like,
like,
oh, we
whatever.
could just go as friends.
I'm like,
Sure, sure,
whatever.
sure.
We've been hanging out every single day, and by then he was staying the night, and let me just give my man much respect because when he was staying the night at my house, he used to sleep on the sofa.
Yeah. Like, I'm
He
not
would sleep on
being
my
weird.
sofa. I would go sleep in my room because I only had a 1 bedroom. I would go sleep in my
Yeah.
room with me and my dog. And then when he left in the morning, I used to have a keypad on my door. So he would lock the door and then he would text me because I was still asleep. He would text me that when I got up or that he was leaving and to make sure I had a security lock, make sure I locked the other lock if I was going to be sitting in the house. And then we'll be back the same night, y'all. And so we was doing that. And so at this point, like, you sleeping here.
Yeah.
Like you staying here. Basically at that point we had basically lived together. It got to the point where instead of going home every night, maybe sometimes he would come and spend a couple nights still
Yeah.
sleeping on the sofa for a good bit of it.
Yeah. It started to get crazy back at the crib with my grandparents when I used to start bringing some clothes and they started noticing my clothes are missing. They was like, oh, if you're gonna move in, you could just tell us. You don't gotta move
You
one
don't
by
have to do
one.
it in a secret.
I'm like,
But that wasn't
that
the
wasn't
initial
the
plan.
yeah.
It wasn't the plan at all.
But
It
then
just sort of happened.
yeah,
Like
and the more
everything
that
just sort of happened because he
stuff
was
stirred
there.
up over there, the more I was like, yeah, maybe it is time to spread my wings and fly, like get out of here.
He was there. And so we
Shit,
eventually
I don't even remember when we moved in together.
it was when you it was we made it official when we got back from Florida, when you got sick.
Oh yeah, cause
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Because before we went to Florida, we had decided like, okay, we're gonna get us a try. So then we were technically dating.
Yeah.
And in Florida, we was on the same terms about it. But in Florida, he had this real cute poem thing, whatever,
Oh yeah,
and
worked
his
it
whole
out.
thing planned to like ask me to be his girlfriend. But he ended up really, really, really sick.
Like borderline almost died. Like ended the trip almost early, and on the way back home from
7 hours
Florida,
home, he threw up in the car
the
the
whole
whole
time,
way.
like throwing up stomach acid, ain't ate no food. She had that white cheddar popcorn. I smelled it, was throwing up. Like we had
And
to
have not
stop by
I
the
have almost
hospital.
almost not been able to eat white cheddar popcorn since then.
Bruh. Had to stop
Went to the
by the
hospital
hospital
before
on
we
the
went
way.
home.
But first of all, if you ever been to a hospital and you see someone laying on the hospital floor with a blanket and nothing else, you know he's sick.
Oh
That was
yeah,
me. I was literally laying on the
on the
floor. The
floor.
nurses are coming out like, "Sir, you can't lay on the floor. It's dirty." It's during COVID too, so she's like, "It's real sick in here. You can't do this." I'm like, I cannot sit up. If I sit up, I feel like I'm gonna die. So that was real bad. Shit, that happened.
And then you went. So we went to the hospital closest to my house because that's where we was on the way to.
Hmm.
We went to that hospital. When they discharged him, brought him back to my house. It was the middle of the night. It made the most sense. I brought him back to my house. He was like he didn't want to go home all the way back to Douglasville.
Yeah, I
So
don't
we
want.
came back to my house and I was like taking care of him. Again, I wasn't working. I didn't have no other real responsibilities. Like I had to go home and get my dog anyways because we just came back from vacation. Um, so we was at my house. And then maybe like 2 or 3 days after we got back, he ended up real sick. It didn't stop. So we ended up back at the hospital.
Yeah,
But by then I had talked to his mom and stuff and his grandparents, and that's where he had lived.
like
And they're
sick,
like,
like
bring him home.
bad, like on IVs. Can't take in no fluids. I was doing Pedialyte, water, nothing was
Throwing up
staying
water.
down. Like it was bad.
It was so bad.
I thought it was
But
the beginning of the end. I thought it was it.
they told me to bring him home. And I'm like, I'm taking care of him here, but I get it. So I drove him all the way to Douglasville, took him to the hospital, and well, I took him to his grandparents' house first. And they were like, "Oh, you could go." Like, what you mean I could go? I'm not
Yeah,
going nowhere. Like I called y'all, it was so bad. I left my little sister at my house.
yeah.
My little sister came over to stay the night. She not a little ass kid, y'all. She a teenager. But she came over to stay the night and hang out with us. And he got so sick and they told me to bring him home and I just didn't like I was at wit's end about it. So I was like, I told my little sister, I was like, give me a couple hours. If you don't hear from me in 3 hours, call somebody and tell them to pick you up and take my dog with you. I'm not gonna make it back home tonight. And I didn't. I left my little sister at my house and I think I called her like 5 or 6 hours later, like, hey, we back at the hospital and we're just trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Um
It was nuts. And when I
and so
finally did got discharged, I was at the crib and I was like,
it
I
was your
couldn't even.
birthday.
Yeah, I was in the hospital on my birthday, but I get discharged on my birthday. So a few of my friends came over to the crib and they just came to saw me. But I wasn't even on bed rest. I was on the recliner. I couldn't even get in the bed because if I would lay down fully, I would feel sick. I had to like sit up in the recliner. I slept in the recliner for like a week. But
And I slept next to him in
right
the other
next to me, it was
recliner.
like a dual recliner. And that whole week, like
I
she
didn't
had no
go.
responsibilities, no nothing. So she stayed with me that whole week. I was like, damn, that shit kind of real. Like locked in, whatever, whatever. Like
Kind of real. Y'all
ain't
know.
leave my side. I'm like, oh, shout out to you. 'Cause I definitely thought that was it, man. I thought I was on my deathbed. I'm laying there like,
No, it was so scary, y'all.
it
Honestly,
was
it was so
bad.
scary.
I had lost so. If you know me, I'm like 120 pounds my whole life. I had lost weight. I was like hunched over, walking around every time, shuffling to the bathroom. Like it was bad, like real bad.
It was stressful, y'all.
So after that, and I finally got back on my feet and I was healthy, I moved out.
Like immediately.
Like
So
I was
like
ready to
once he
leave.
was able to like stand up and I think what it was honestly was like I I was absolutely committed to taking care of him. Like I'm not just gonna leave you while you down. Like that don't make sense. But he got a lot of women in his family. And so they like, oh, let me do it, let me do it. But at this point, like, this my man. Like, you could help me, but I'm gonna help him. And that's just how I am about my man. If y'all know me, you could always help me. But my man, you called me about my man. And it was so stressful for me being over there at his grandparents' house because everybody else wanted to help. But y'all got other responsibilities. Like, your life don't stop for my man. And that's one thing I'm really, really big on. Just like my life, God forbid my brother got sick. And he had a girl. He had a me in his life, doing the things. I love you so much, and I will call you and check on you, and I will send you, or I will talk to your girl and send her the things that she needs to better take care of you. But my life cannot stop for you.
Reasonable, reasonable.
And for me, it was so stressful because they're like, "Oh, let me do it." Like, it got so bad that, like, when he was trying to walk, at one point he was throwing up so bad and he had started to get a fever, and we had to put him in the shower. And they're like, "Oh," his grandma was like, "Let me put him in the shower." Why? I was still fully dressed, put him in the shower and everything, soaking wet, fully dressed, but he needed to sit in the cold shower and he couldn't stand up on his own.
Ew,
Why?
it was
His
bad.
his grandma, not that old, but you old enough that you shouldn't be bending over trying to pick
Older
this
than
boy
me,
up.
shorter than me.
Yeah, trying
And
to
don't
pick
get me
this
wrong, my
boy up.
grandma, she's a little bit strong. She gonna get it done. But like,
But she didn't
you
have
didn't
to.
have to, yeah.
She didn't have to because I was
You were
there.
going out of your way when you had assistance, so it's like I understand her wanting to take care of her grandbaby, but at the same time, like, you got some help, man. Let the help. Anyways, basically I got back on my feet, we moved back in, and boom. Don't even think cut. We could do one of them little but don't think, oh, this is when the love story starts. No.
No,
That shit,
took a while. And don't get me wrong, like,
it was
there was a
tough.
lot of love. There's always,
Definitely.
but let me be the person to tell y'all love is not enough
No, 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 no.
because we moved in together sort of on the fact that, like, we are dating again. We do have all of this history, but a big chunk of our history at that time was history without each other because we did break up and we stopped talking. Like, not like we broke up and we were still friends, and not like we broke
Mm,
up and we were still really keeping tabs on each other for a good. Maybe in the very beginning when we broke up, we were still keeping tabs on each other, but as things progressed, like maybe after the first 6 months or so, we were in different relationships. We were living different, very different lives. I originally was in college. 6 months after we broke up, I had dropped out of school. I had moved back home. I was moving into my first apartment by my I had a roommate at the time. I was moving into my first apartment. I was working a full-time job. Um, I was out,
no, graduated, went straight to work for me. Construction.
right, but it was
Hated that shit. But
very different. We
yeah,
were living very different lives, and so
coming back together was
it was hard.
rough,
It
to
was
say the
so hard.
least. It was like two
And
different people,
not just two different people, but
like two different lifestyles, two
two
different
different lifestyles.
everything,
Like,
mindsets,
somebody asked us to do an
way of
episode about
living.
that, about the way that we came back together. And I guess at some point we definitely will, because now that we sit here and say it out loud, it was so much different. Like, these aren't two kids that was in high school together no more.
It's
Like,
two
these
damn
are
grown
two
ass
adults
adults with adult
with
problems,
adult
bills and
problems.
shit.
And so it was, by the time he moved in with me, I was in my second place by myself, or since I had moved out from my parents' house. And it was his first time living away from his family.
Yeah,
And so that was a big adjustment. And then there were
absolutely.
these expectations that we sort of had for each other, but we had never really talked about.
Yeah,
Um,
that created problems,
that was
especially
an
the
adjustment.
problems like they steamrolled for a
Yeah, for a
while.
while.
Like,
Money.
oh yeah, money
Talk
was a
about these
big
things
one.
not just before you get married. People think you're supposed to wait before you get married. Before you
Yeah,
go living with somebody, talk about these things. Money was a big thing because we are dating, but this is my
yeah,
apartment and my name is on the lease. Do you respect my space the way that I have to, because I have to pay for these things?
yeah.
Um, how much money are you actually making, and what, are we splitting bills 50-50? what are we doing and
And see, that was
how are we
another
doing
thing,
it?
cause like when that whole up and down was going on, this and that, when it finally did start to get better, it came where like understanding all of those things and like incorporating all of those things. So like
Yep, we went to
understanding the money
therapy.
in this, man, that shit did help a lot, cause
We
like
went to we had to.
it
We
gave
were
me, we was on wits end to say the least.
going
It
through
was
it, yeah.
like therapy or nothing. So
And
I
neither one
mean,
of us was willing to do the nothing, right? And so
this is when mutuality comes into play. And another thing that was like a big kicker for me was like this is the first time like actually experiencing mutual love. So it's kind of like, okay, well, we both fight, and then if it don't work, at least we both fought. At least we both tried. So that had happened. We had finally got to a point where she used to come home complaining about her job every day. Now finally, I got tired of it. So I was like, hey, just quit. Like, oh, well, I can't just quit. I'm like, man, look,
I can't quit my
I,
job. I got a whole
I'll help
apartment.
out your bills. You be writing and stuff. Pick that up, but don't keep coming home to me complaining about the
And
same
so that
job
was
you're
the
gonna go
issue.
to
That was
every
the issue
day.
so
Cause
much.
I'm like, bro, like,
Was like,
don't. It's not like you telling me about your problem is a big issue to me. That's that like I'm visually seeing you so unhappy, and you're bringing that unhappiness home.
and it
That
was causing so many problems in our
I don't
relationship.
want that negativity. So like, quit or I don't want to hear it. And then that means either you're gonna go to your work, you gonna go to your come home shitty every day. This is gonna always be an issue,
And it was,
or
I
you can
was,
quit.
and not just shitty, but like robotic. Like before we had gotten back together, um, I was in individual therapy. And this is the importance of like taking care of your mental health and knowing your triggers. Because one of my biggest triggers was work. So when COVID started to die down a little bit and I had to go back to work, it caused problems in our relationship because I hated my job so much and I hated the people that I worked with. And in retrospect, looking back, it was God showing me time after time after time that I wasn't supposed to go back. And Sydney had been telling me for a couple months, like, when they called me and said like this is your return to work date, and I'm like, I don't want to go back to that job.
Nigga,
And he
don't.
told me don't. I'm like, that's not an
Shit,
option.
shit. I
And
wouldn't
we
have went
got
back.
into it. I remember very distinctly.
Like,
I'm like, that's not an option
forget that not being an
because
option, John. Don't go back, man. If you miserable in this, but that's the thing. Like, you gotta have a backup plan. This is not me telling you go quit your job. Oh yeah, Peanut done said I need to quit. No, the hell
nope.
I didn't. Don't go calling me like Peanut. You told me I need to quit my job. I need some money. Don't look this way. That's not what I'm saying. You need to have you a backup plan.
No, not just a backup plan, a plan period.
Plan
You
period.
need a
But you
first
need
plan.
a first plan most definitely. But you need a backup plan to your first plan because your first plan not always guaranteed to fall back. But if you are going to that job, you know what I'm saying, if you are just living miserably and you just feeling like this cycle of continue, you need to break that up. The cycle needs to be broken. Something needs to come to. There is no true growth without being uncomfortable. That's just
What's your famous word?
uncomfortability. Man, I'm gonna use that thing. It's gonna stick. Uncomfortability. But like for real, no, it's like you gotta step out that box, man. If you're not feeling it, speak up, step
Yeah.
on it, act on it, because
And not
that
just
was a
that, like,
big problem, large. But
yeah, not just that, like, that job specifically, like, it was so stressful because I had tried to get out of that position. I had tried to get out of that department. And God was telling me so hard, like, you don't belong in this place. That I tried everything to stay there because I had good benefits. Because outsiders kept telling me, like, you got a job with benefits, you got a 401k, you got a pension, you work for a good company, I think I had like 35 days of PTO a year. I had sick days, I had holidays, I had overtime. I had a good job to somebody. It wasn't good for me though. And once I got to that point,
your situation always look good to somebody who's not in a
your
situation
shoes.
that's good enough as you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always somebody under you. It's always somebody above you. It's all about how you view yourself and how you view your future going on.
but the importance of really stressing this part is that the weight of everything outside of our house always made it home with us. Like,
Yeah,
and it caused so many issues in our relationship. And like
that.
I said, we had a one bed. So at the end of the night,
Yeah,
I'm supposed to lay next to you.
yeah. Piss me off real bad. Nigga be on the couch. Don't care.
I'm I'm supposed to talk to you. I'm supposed to make sure you eat dinner.
Yeah, like be for
I'm
real.
supposed to I'm supposed to cook for somebody other than myself. This my house.
Yeah.
That was a big issue.
Yeah, this mine's this me's
This
this
my
other set
house.
of hours and this and that when you're working towards being together. So that was another thing that was really stressful for us. But we kinda really started figuring it out.
Um,
Then the lease when it was about to be up, man,
we
that
was married,
thing.
brother.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We got
Well,
married.
yeah, of course. But
Okay,
I'm
so then
saying,
boom. So let me tell y'all. Everything that we telling y'all, when I quit my job December 2022.
yeah,
No, December 2022. I quit my job December 2020.
yeah,
2 months before that, 3 months before that, my birthday's 3 months before that, he had given me a promise ring and basically said to me that day, whatever it is, we're gonna figure it out, but we're not gonna quit.
yeah.
Um, and so I'm like, okay. So September, I got a promise. He moved in July. His birthday's in July of 2020. September 2020, I got a promise ring. December 2020, I quit my job. I didn't go back. Um, and then I think we started therapy in December of that year. And we really started working through some things, or through a lot of those things that we was just telling y'all about. And then my lease was up in May. Um, but
Well, this was like when COVID was starting to die down a little bit.
and
They started
everybody
jacking everything back up.
wanted to get their money back, y'all.
Man,
The
get
price
the
I'm gonna tell
get.
y'all the price of my rent. I lived in a luxury community on the south side of Atlanta. The price of my rent was $900 a month, but plus my amenities payments and everything else. I think in a month after we paid amenities and all of our utilities and everything, we paid about $13.50 to maintain a 1 bedroom, 1 bath luxury apartment on the south side of Atlanta.
Mm,
Now I
mm,
will
mm.
say we didn't have that many issues there.
Nah,
It
biggest
really
issue
wasn't a
was
rowdy
that mold
the
bullshit.
mold issue.
That shit was bad, but
Um,
it wasn't
it wasn't
horrible.
real rowdy in our neighborhood. We didn't have like bad neighbors or nothing.
Yeah,
It wasn't like our gate. We had a gate. Our gate worked most of the time.
most
Like
of the time. Sometimes that
ninety
bit'll be
percent of the
broke.
time, our gate worked.
75. We'll get 75. That
I say
motherfucker be
80.
broke. Nah, that bitch be broke. We can meet in
No,
the middle. Say
the gate out
76,
76.
cause that bitch was broke. That bitch was broke.
But okay, so our gate worked most of. That's still most of the time,
Mm,
especially if you know the south side of Atlanta. Them
yeah,
gates don't work for
that's
most
true.
apartments. Period. Your gate don't work. And so we was paying about $13.50 a month. When they sent us the letter to renew my lease for the same 1 bed, 1 bath that we were in,
Or
my rent, not the amenities payment or anything, my rent was going up to $13.85 for a 1 bed, 1 bath apartment that I was already in. And that was the resident discount because I was already a resident there.
man,
Plus
hell
another
no.
$200 for amenities. They was talking about $1,600 a month for a one
Absolutely
bed,
not.
1 bath apartment. We
No.
got married in April
Yeah.
of 2021. Um, and we knew like I'm not if I'm gonna pay 1,600, I'm gonna pay it at least with another bedroom,
Mm-hmm. And luxury apartments, some actually go rent me a
something.
crib.
We
But
go
so
find
when
me a
that
house.
happened, like we basically was like, whatever, we need to start weighing out other options. And that's when I basically like reached out to my grandparents or whatever, and they needed some extra help in the house. So we ended up moving in with them for a little while. And we were there for a while, but
It's not what we thought we were walking into.
yeah, like being a married couple and then living in a house, with someone else, it was,
No, 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 not just someone else.
well,
It
like
was
with
it was a good few
family.
of us there.
Yeah, it was. I'll say that. It was
It
a
was a
house
good
full of
few of
people.
us.
So basically, like moving in, being married with your partner, and then like moving in with your family in a full house of family.
And it's so interesting because a couple of people told us not to do it.
Yeah,
But for us it was like his
I'm moving in
grandparents
to
need help.
help. So yeah, but it just we overstayed our company to say the least, because we could get into
The
dealing with
nooks and
family
crannies later.
in another episode, but to say the least, it was just like it was a lot, and it like trying to be adults or not trying to being adults and having to deal with all
Our
of
own
our issues
issues
and then
and all of
dealing
their
with everyone
issues.
else's issues, not despite what's coming in with work or friends or anything else accumulated into everything. It became to be a lot. And we started really reminiscing on having our own space and only having to deal with our own issues and having the choice to deal with other people's issues versus living in the house with them and having no choice but to deal with them. So we kind of started again weighing out our own options.
And we moved out.
Yeah, we moved out. We left over
Oh,
there.
hold on.
It's not, hold on. We went to your dad's.
Yeah, yeah. When did we go to?
I
My
don't
cousin
remember.
leased out his house to us.
Oh, that's right. We
Oh,
did
that
go
was right
live over
after
there.
right after we moved out of our apartment. We went. My cousin was a truck driver, and
Hmm.
so he had an apartment. We were staying over there, but we only stayed
Damn, I
there for like
almost forgot.
a month or
It was
two
barely even a
because
month.
because he was never home. He didn't know that there was mold in his AC vents.
Yep.
And I'm a chronic asthmatic, y'all. I was literally in there every day, like
Hacking and
almost
coughing.
8 hours a day, sitting on a breathing treatment.
Defibrillator. Yeah, like
It was not a
that shit.
defibrillator.
Oh,
That's the thing for your
defibrillator.
heart.
Man, tomato, tomato. Y'all
It
know
was
what
a
I
breathing
mean.
treatment.
If you say asthma, defibrillator, you know what I mean.
But I couldn't
Whatever,
breathe, and so we had to
basically,
move out.
had to. And then that's when we went over there. And
Yeah.
so that happened or whatever. We overstayed our welcome. I know what
I
y'all
don't feel
thinking,
like
like,
we overstayed our welcome. I
we,
feel like we tried our hardest to do what we thought we were there to do.
yeah, but we grew out of that
We grew out of that.
swiftly. So we outgrew our stay there. We just, we matured more. We were really focused on ourselves and our marriage and really trying to better that. So we basically realized that
Let me
that
throw this
wasn't
out there.
enough.
We went back to therapy because we had left at one point. We went back,
Yeah,
and I think that was something that really clarified for us that like
it was time to basically move
we
on.
need not just another space, but our own space.
Yeah,
However,
we didn't do that. The way that,
the way that
man,
life happened,
life and it was still like fresh after COVID time for real.
and
So everything was
the
still
truth
so
is,
high.
it's
Honestly,
2023. It's still
everything is
expensive.
still so high. But to save on money, we ended up moving in with her dad, who um basically,
Very different pace there at
yeah,
first.
definitely it was a very different pace. It was a lot more freedom. I felt like I was treated like a lot more as an adult versus just,
A kid that came back home.
yeah, to say the least. So it was a lot more free there. It was a lot more open. And that's when she started working her job. And basically, she was working at stay at home, whatever. And I was working, but I was kind of bouncing around from jobs. And it was kind of like a hard time for me. Like I was feeling like I really didn't have a place. And I was kind of like, I gave up on my careers and stuff. That's when she had kind of like gave me that reassurance, like, nah, you can do this, whatever. What do you want to do? So I started doing fashion full time and I quit my job.
No, you did
And
that at your grandparents.
yeah, but I was only doing that off and on. When I got there, I was doing it like full time. I was doing art
Oh,
full
in the
time.
beginning.
I was doing art and fashion full time, like doing logos for people. Shout
So
out
that
to
was the
my
second
aunt.
time.
That's when I did that mural though.
Oh yeah,
So I did that mural. Shout out to my aunt. She let me do a little mural in her gym.
it's a huge mural. It's
Yeah.
really
Well, I
big
say little mural, but y'all know what I mean. But so that really had gave me a lot of confidence. But then art started dying down for me, and I kind of was just like,
because nobody could afford anything except their rent.
and yeah, fuck COVID. But so it was just kind of like a low point for me, and I just kind of like really trying to like reiterate my goals, my life, like what do I really want to do, and that's when I had kind of just remember back what I said like a long time ago, like when I graduated high school, like hey, if I ain't doing anything by 24, I'm gonna join the military, and then like that like very faint long term goal really became like reality for me, where I'm kind of like it's not a bad thing. We'd be able to get our own home, we'd be able to get back up on our feet and live for ourselves. So basically, me still being unemployed, her holding it down. I started doing more studying and just working towards joining the military. Started working out more, training myself, training my body, my mind, and I decided to just go to the Navy. Um, so that was definitely a big step for us. Like knowing I'm gonna have to be apart for so long, knowing 3 months or so with no contact, no nothing, maybe a call here and
Ooh, and
there
I've been
or a
telling him I was
letter.
pregnant.
Yeah, and that's when we decided, or she decided to tell me, that's when the Lord decided that we were gonna have a baby, even though we were already making a major shift in our lives. He's like,
Oh, now's a great time.
yeah, on top of your shift, let's add a storm to it.
And let me
So
tell y'all, we're gonna give y'all a whole story about that. But he legitimately thought I was crazy for weeks. Do y'all
yeah,
hear me?
yeah, y'all have heard me
Because
say it plenty of times. Like,
I was telling him like
oh,
I had
I
a
had a
dream and
dream.
I'm pregnant.
Yeah, okay, Martin Luther King.
And,
Like,
and we had, I'm
realistically,
gonna be very honest, we had struggled with having a baby our entire marriage.
yeah,
Um,
like
where we
2.5 years
like
of
two
trying.
years, and we tried and we tried and we tried and nothing. And
Boom.
at that point, I was like, I'm not taking another negative test. When I have a dream, it's because the Lord is telling me a thing.
Yeah,
And I've always been very confident in my dreams because I know that that's the way that the Lord communicates with me. And so I told him, I was telling him for weeks, and we saw it. I had in my first trimester, I had a lot of morning sickness. And Sydney used to just tell me, and he would pray with me and stuff, especially in the mornings when I was waking up and I wasn't feeling good. He was like, Lord, if this is if this is from pregnancy or whatever,
you know, let us know. Let me know
let us
some.
know.
You
But
know,
if not, like heal her body because
yeah,
I was so
going
my
through
first
it.
trimester was rough.
It was bad. But then, you know what I'm saying? I was gone. I was in boot camp, so I had left. So that was a thing in itself. But you know what I'm saying? Being apart helped us grow together, as y'all, I know when we say it in our future episodes or past episodes and whatnot. It really helped us grow together. So after coming back, we were definitely stronger. But then again, we came back just for my graduation for maybe a couple days. Not even a
No,
couple days. It was like a day,
it was a couple hours.
a couple hours. And then I had to go back and I left out to Pensacola that morning. But she did, she came to see me. So it was those trips here and there that really solidified it, but it was still hard
It was so
nonetheless.
hard.
That distance, it make or break you.
Let me just tell y'all, our whole relationship has been
Hard. It may look
hard.
good on Instagram, it do be looking all saucy, but
It's hard.
it's hard. It's tough. Like to get where we are, you really have to fortify your mind and you have to have patience with your partner and trust in your partner. So
And
it's
trust the
real.
Lord that you made the right decision.
Yep.
And trust yourself that you made the right decision because
So
love is not enough. It's so much work that has gone into us making it this far. Because, like we told y'all, we could have left it where it was at
yep.
when this Negro pulled up to my house in high school and said, I want you to watch me walk out of your life.
Man, toxic, man.
And for whatever
Dumb
reason,
young
ended
high
up
school
staying the night at my
kids.
house that night.
Toxic. Real bad. But all of this toxicity to say that it can be worked through. Now certain things
You don't
you gon'
tolerate.
yeah, like you need to have goals and boundaries for yourself. Like
And I won't say toxicity is necessarily worth it because, like we said, that toxicity ran its course. Like,
it absolutely did. Like there was a time where like just like again, we'll get into this in another episode, but like dealing with family, like toxicity with family, it's just certain things you gotta cut cold turkey. It may hurt, it may be hard, but there's certain things that you have to know for yourself that I will not tolerate anymore and I want better. So, you know,
hey, you guys, the Jelly Man wants to say hey.
say what's up, man. What's up, fat self? But to end it off, our love story gave us this beautiful bundle of love and joy.
He's a stat.
Yeah, he ain't really
He
a
ain't a
bundle
bundle
no
no
more.
more.
He is a potato sack. He's nice and chunky. But I mean, y'all definitely gonna get more episodes of the Jelly Man, Fat Self, the man, Ephraim. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
big old
But
burp.
it's been tough. It's been rough. It
But it's
has
been
not
real.
been easy. Yeah, it's been real.
And a lot of people won't tell you.
The nitty gritty, the ugly stuff. But we
I
gonna get
mean,
into
don't
the
get us
ugly.
wrong. Y'all can't have all of the information.
Yeah, now some of it
Most
if
of
you
it.
want to reach out and talk to us one on one about what you're personally going through, you can hit me up most definitely. Y'all know me. I'm open. I can, I'll talk to you. But it's just certain stuff that really happen that you have to, not I won't say hold in, but it's something you
It's
take
not
within
everybody's
yourself.
business.
Yeah, it's just certain stuff that's got to stay between the marriage. So
Okay.
keep it
So
tight, keep it
as we
locked
sign
in.
off, as we get ready to go,
Yeah.
what is one piece of advice that you would give to people that are young and thinking about getting married, or married and having
Boundaries,
issues.
morals. You have to have, and not boundaries, morals within your relationship, within yourself. You have to know what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate. It's certain things like you got to know,
From
like,
who?
hey, this ain't it. From your partner, from yourself, from outside, from within anything and everything. I say, really, you just got to sit down and you got to pray about it and like, Lord, put this in my heart, put this in my mind, and to anyone else, to those that's not, cancel it, cut it, do whatever you got to do, whatever how hard it is. You've got to set those goals and boundaries for yourself, because if not, anybody can swindle you, anybody can get over you, and that's not what you want in your life. That's not what you want in your mind. You want to have an open, fluid mind, and it's not gonna work if you don't have boundaries, goals, morals for yourself first and foremost. Anything else?
Um, I think I just sort of piggyback off what you say. Like, don't just have boundaries, really stand on them. I know in my life, in both of our lives, it's come up that, like, oh, but this is this person to me. Um,
Oh, we
and
just been through so much,
we've been
man,
through
but
so
that's not
much.
enough,
It's
man.
not. And so standing on your boundaries, having the
Yeah.
boundaries isn't always the hard part, right? It
Hmm.
can be a lot of times. It's like, where do I draw this line? But once you figure that out, standing on them is
You draw that line, it ain't like a line in the sand either. It needs to be like a firm
permanent ink,
line, permanent, like lock. Like this is a line you don't cross. There's no breaks.
period.
There's no bends. There's no curves into this. It's set in stone. It is what it is,
Yep.
and
Um,
that's just it.
and so stand on your boundaries. And if you need help in learning how to set boundaries,
Hmm.
in learning, building your confidence about standing firm on your boundaries,
Hmm.
don't be afraid to communicate that with yourself,
With yourself, and don't be afraid to get a
with
therapist,
God.
man.
Go to therapy.
And God,
Communicate that with your partner. You
man.
have to be able to communicate, hey, I'm having a hard time standing firm on this boundary, but I
Yeah.
really want to. Because some of the boundaries that I set, I didn't have the confidence to stand on until I told him this is my boundary, and something
Yeah.
came up and he had to step in and hold firm my boundary for me.
Yeah.
And that really gave me the confidence. Like, he held it down, and I just got to remind y'all that's what my man said. And he didn't say that because he felt like it. He said it because I asked him to. He said it because that's what he knew that I needed for myself and for our relationship, which is our priority, and for our family. And so make it and don't break it.
Yeah.
That's my
And
advice.
with that being said, just gonna wrap it up on the end of this episode. We need to get this little old chunky monkey back to sleep. And you know what I'm saying? Another Monday successfully in the books.
Yeah,
It's been real, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Had a special guest starring. What's up, fat self? Yeah, you fat self. Yeah, tired. So we're gonna end it here, y'all, man.
And y'all have a great rest of y'all week, and
Yeah,
tune in
man.
next week.
Thank you. If you made it this far, man, shout out to you. You real. Like, subscribe. Again, drop a comment. If you want us to talk about a topic, if you want to ask
Yep.
questions about us, anything about the episode, about this fresh ass crew neck I'm wearing. I know it ain't Christmas time. Don't really care. But anything, man, you let us know. Hit me up. You can hit up the page, message us privately, whatever you have. Just let us know, man. And we'll
And
keep it
always
real with y'all.
remember to share, because you know somebody
Yeah,
that needed to hear this.
you know that one person that's just like, man, your situation is jacked up. This is what you need. And send it over and we'll be there. We'll get it. And with that saying, deuces. Say peace out, fat self.
Say bye bye. You gonna wave? Say bye bye. Bye
Old fat self.
bye.